This is Fam Electric Ghost, and we are live on our Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter channels with Shaddow for the first time from Shaddowmusic. We're glad to have you on the program.
Hey, thanks for having me, brother. I look forward to the chat.
Well, we want to tell everybody we do have a sponsor. We're on Newsly and Newsly.me. It's another podcast app, so it's going to take this podcast and translate it so you can listen and you can stop scrolling, start listening. You get 1 month free premium subscription if you use Ghost 2021 as the coupon code. So use Ghost 2021 as the coupon code. Go to iOS or Android store and check out Newsly. We're going to be on Newsly within an hour with this podcast. So thank you very much for being on the show again. And we like to get into kind of like a behind the music type of interview because we've always liked, that kind of depth. So usually the first question we always ask of musicians is like, when did you get into music? Do you remember what age you got into it?
Man, that was like probably around 7 or 8, I would say. But like I was always like listening to old records and stuff. Like my dad used to always listen to like Ronnie Laws and Stevie Wonder, like we were saying earlier, Al Jarreau. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was a little kid. I was, probably earlier than 7, probably like 5 or 6, listening to those records. And got my first saxophone when I was probably like maybe 13 or 14. And I started on clarinet. And now that I
Yeah,
think about it, like clarinet, clarinet was like
the
it
first
was,
one.
yeah, that was like officially the first one that at school, like we like playing band at school and stuff. That was like
Yeah,
like not middle school, but yeah, middle school, right before high school. And
yeah. I mean, I got a
but before,
recorder and then I jumped to clarinet because I said this recorder, I don't like it.
yeah, I wasn't feeling clarinet. But before that, the records that I was listening to, I wanted to play saxophone. So the very first saxophone I got was we got it at a pawn shop, and I didn't have
Hmm.
any formal teachers. It was a guy named Kelvin Easters. He was married to one of my cousins,
Oh
and
wow. So
so he was like a jazz player.
he
And
actually had the background and he was patient enough to teach?
yeah, so I used to go over his house when I was little, and he used to just say, "Here, put the record on, slow the record down, and
Yeah.
try to
Yeah,
copy what they saying."
that's the African American way of learning.
Yeah, put the record on and
Yeah.
just try to transcribe it right there and slow the
Yeah.
record down. And that's how I got started unofficially. But really, I would say officially, because I mean that's
That's
the
really where it starts.
yeah, that's the real art form is the jazz stuff. I
Oh,
got the
yeah.
classical stuff later. The classical stuff, classical education came later, but really, that was my first start back when I learned from him.
So that's the thing is, like, I grew up as a child of the '70s. I'm 55. My dad had the chess record collection with all the freaking James Brown 78s. And then he
Yeah,
had all this jazz, all Coltrane. He had, Monk. He had like everything. And I'm sitting there like, wow. And then he had, well, I just got kind of keyboards. He got like songs in the key of life. And then I heard like Saturn and Village Ghetto Land. I said, what is that? And then I actually started looking into it. I said, oh, he's using a Yamaha GX1 Dream Machine. And I'm like, yeah, I want to know what those synths are. And I started tracking down what Herbie was playing, all these people were playing, because I wanted to know. That's how I kind of got into it. But yeah, everybody starts like, because I think they love like listening to you're all, I think everybody's like a fan, right? You start as a fan first to liking the music, then you become like, I want to try to do that, right?
yeah. That's what I was thinking about. And like I tell everybody, like, growing up was rough. I watched my parents like get into a lot of fights. They ended up being divorced, but the only time they was like getting along was when they was listening to the records. So I was like, this brings joy into people's life. So that's a motivator for me, was like bringing
Mhm.
joy to people's life. And I remember hearing Rocket by Herbie Hancock, man.
Oh, yeah, it's fantastic.
Like what he was doing with the vocoder. Oh man.
Yeah. He was so innovative because he had already done done some really funky like work in the mid '70s, like before he even did that. And then he suddenly did that and he kind of got into the new wave. He kind of got into the new wave as a jazz player getting played on MTV, during the whole Duran Flock of Seagulls type of thing, and he's got pushed in there. And that was big. It's just as big as Michael Jackson. People forget, like, he was a big innovator on MTV too. He's a jazz guy showing up on MTV.
On MTV.
Yeah,
That's like an inspiration for real right there, bro. That's like,
big time. Yeah,
man, like if he can do it, I can do it. You see that guy, you like, yeah, I can do this.
yeah. Because how the heck he broke through the wall? There's a barrier there, and he got boom right through it. You know, People forget about Herbie did that. I remember because I was like, yeah, that's awesome. That's what it should be. So you said you actually got into where you kind of like got your mentor. You were able to get somebody to actually take time to teach you. So you started a hint that you got into more formal education. How far did you go with that? You talked about classical.
So yeah, like when I got to high school, that's when I actually got some formal education. Uh I got like an actual like private lessons teacher to teach me how to properly play scales and stuff. But by
Oh,
that time, I had already learned by ear a lot of stuff. And then I um I worked on piano a little bit. I got a little bit of private lessons with piano, but I was like solely focused on saxophone. It was so hard to like focus on piano and saxophone at the time in high school.
mhm.
So I was like more focused on saxophone and marching band. That
Yeah,
was like,
I did that. I did the
symphonic
jazz.
band.
Yeah, I did the jazz band, the marching band, the concert band, orchestra, because I like the fact that I was learning how to, I actually learned to sheet read. But then when I switched to piano, I kind of dropped off of sheet reading and went to like playing by ear. Because like
Yeah.
I knew the treble clef, I didn't know the bass clef because I was like, what's that? So I just like, okay, I'll just learn the chords. So I just started learning the chords and then listen and stuff, and then it's like I started picking it up. But you know, that's how people learn, I guess.
Yeah, it's always a mystery, man. Like trying to figure out a good balance of reading sheet music and playing by ear because it feels like the sheet music slows you down a lot
That's what I
when you're,
found. I let it
yeah,
go.
because like when you're on the stage and you on the spot, you don't got time to really read no sheet music unless you're in the pit,
Yeah, I mean, think
you know?
about like James Brown or even Hendrix.
Oh,
Hendrix he wasn't doing the sheet.
uh. James Brown was like, if you got time to read sheet music, you can fire.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I would listen to the tapes, and he's actually singing the drum lines. He's like
yeah,
actually telling the drummer what to play. People are like, he's like Michael Jackson. You would do that. He's famous. There's a video of Michael
yeah.
telling people what to do with his voice. So he's
Uh,
actually writing out the bass line with his voice, telling the piano player with his voice. And James was doing that. I think Michael picked up on that from James. If you listen to the rehearsal tapes, which I got tons of those, he's doing that like everywhere. He's telling everybody what to play. So he
oh
really
yeah.
knew what he wanted, you know.
Yeah, and then you had the classical guy with the guy on trombone who was the band leader for James Brown band. He used to be the one that was brave enough to tell him, "Okay, James, that's not gonna work. It ain't gonna sound right, but we're gonna see what we can do." And I
Yeah.
mean, you listen to him playing the song, man. Like one of my favorite songs is "Paid the Cost to Be the Boss."
Oh, that one. Yeah. 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 It's fantastic.
He said, "Go to the turnaround." You don't know when he gonna say it. That ain't
Yeah.
on no sheet music. He gonna just
He just does it. He
yeah.
has those cues like you missed a cue, $50.
Yeah. He like you don't know you're gonna say it on bar one or bar four or bar 15, but as soon as you say hand for the turnaround, your ass better hand for the
Yeah.
turnaround.
Prince picked up on that. And if you ever watch Prince live, he used to do that. He used with his band, he would like throw the turnarounds anywhere. He
Yeah,
just throw the things. He'd have like keywords, and then that would mean you have to go into this phrase that they rehearsed, and he would just say it. He was like, boom. Then he would just bounce it around and keep on saying these key phrases that nobody knew what it meant. Because he had this phrase called ice cream, and
yeah,
he would just say ice cream, and suddenly it would go into this different section that they rehearsed, and then he would jump out of it. They were like, "That's pretty cool." I thought it was cool, but
it reminded me of the Dave Chappelle episode where he was on there. Anybody want some pancakes?
yeah.
Computer blue.
So so when you started to get into writing, So is that why you wanted to get into the piano so you could have like a writing instrument on top of your like kind of lead?
Yeah, yeah. The piano. I wanted to learn piano just so I could understand the chords better
Mm-hmm.
and just have like a structure of
Mm-hmm.
like when I'm laying down ideas. The piano is really good, and
A
also
good writing.
understand the bass clef too, because I was reading treble clef as a saxophone player, but I didn't
Yeah.
have no idea about bass clef and using two clefs. I need to know how to read that, so the piano
Yeah.
was good.
That's why I got into it because like it's like you either get an acoustic guitar and use that to write a song, or you use a piano. And then I said, well, I couldn't afford a piano, but I could actually find a Roland.
Yeah,
And then I got my Roland like a Juno, and then I realized I could play everything because I was in a band. And then I got people stopped showing up, and I said, well, I can do the bass, I can do the drums, I can do all the things. And then because I've been a clarinet player, I knew, well, I can't keep on playing this like horn and acting like I'm not breathing because like
mhm.
if you want to make it sound like a wind, you got to put the breaths in, you have to put the breaks in, or it's going to just sound like endless playing.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
so
So you be a one man band with the sequencers. Yeah,
yeah,
change the game.
yeah, the sequencers, and then I just started doing it. But I think it really taught me how sound structure once I got the synth. And it coming from a woodwind, it was fantastic to be able to do the bass clef and the chords, and then I kind of knew what the lead should be, and then I just went from there. But yeah, I think it's interesting that when you start to write, what made you feel like that you could write your own songs? Because there's a lot of people who are into music and they don't always write their own songs. How did that start for you?
I just was experimenting. Like I wasn't afraid to experiment, man. So when I started writing my own songs, I was still in the army band. I was still overseas in Japan when I was stationed in the army band over there, and I was working
Mhm.
with a Japanese group, and the leader of that group was a piano player. And he was like, try writing out this line right here, and I would try it, and that's what I was learning. That's what I was cutting my teeth and learning how to use Pro Tools for the first time.
Mhm.
I was over
Yeah.
there, and so I was like, okay, I see these guys using Ableton Live, Pro Tools, and these guys don't know how to read music, but they're producing tracks as producers. I'm like, let me take a stab at this, and then it started off with learning how to use the DAWs like Pro Tools and stuff, and stacking
Yeah.
tracks. And then I wanted to get more details, so I was like, no, I want to play the line like this, so let me write it out. Then I went to try to learn what's that like Band in the Box. I was on
Oh yeah,
Band in the Box.
garage band type of thing.
Garage Band, yeah, Garage Band, Band in the Box, and there's another software called like Sibelius or something like that, where it'll do
Mhm.
the sheet music for you.
Oh
And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
I- so
Transcriber. Yeah.
yeah, so you just sit there, you just point and click and put the notes in there. I was like, oh, I just wrote something. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you
And once
learn,
you can write your own stuff, you can run everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then you just play around. I even
Yeah.
tried like getting like manuscript paper and writing down the notes. Now that should take forever, but
Yeah,
like
I
with
tried that back
technology,
in the late '70s. I used to do that, and
yeah.
then I got my first like I got a Tascam 4 tracker, and then I got a chord sequencer, and I had a Roland D5. And I said, "Well, I'm not doing that no more." I just opened it up, and I was watching Frank Zappa. He was talking about like, you know what? I just record all my concerts, and they go back and I listen to them, and I find the songs. I said, "Well, that's a cool idea." So I just do it like an open rehearsal, do like stream of consciousness, and then put things down and then go back and try to find the things that were cool and then work on those. That's kind of my tendency what I do. But
Hey, I'm about to try that. I never tried it like that. I got to try that.
it's a cool technique because Prince used to do it, like the Allman Brothers did it, like a lot of old classic bands, Neil Young, Crazy Horse. They would just go in and just put it down on a reel, and then go back and say, "Hey, that's the groove, that's the song," and then work on it. And it's kind of you have all this like artifact material. It's like, yeah, yeah, what was that groove we did last week? And it's like, yeah, yeah, let's take that and pop this in there. People do that now with their, the Ableton and Live and stuff, but people used to just go on their boards with their reel to reels and grab the stuff, everything, and they just record it. So I said,
Yeah,
well, that's a cool way of doing it.
that's dope. I like that.
Yeah, it's old school. I mean, I'm still old school. But,
Man, analog is great, bro.
yeah,
Analog,
yeah,
analog.
well, you're analog all the way on the sax.
Yeah, you can't get
That's
no
all
more
there is.
analog than that.
Yeah, that's the real deal. My Moog is, I feel really good with my Moog when I see these kids on the CDJs, and then I'm actually playing my Moog. But then when I see a guy on a guitar or a sax, I was like, yeah, that's real. That's even more real than what I'm doing.
Yeah, you can't
But
get around
yeah,
it.
so you use like your audio interface to bring your sax in. So do you have to find different kinds of mics that capture your sax? I always wondered with sax players, like how do you choose the mic to capture your sound?
Uh, I like when I find a mic, I just stick with that one. So I got an AKG clip-on mic right now, and I've been using it for years. And
You like it?
it,
You like
yeah,
how it sounds?
yeah, it's clip on. It's not a wireless; it's a wire mic.
Yeah,
Um,
wired's kind of way to go.
yeah, yeah. I use that one for like a lot of home studio stuff. But when I'm at a real good studio,
hmm
any type of really good condenser microphone.
Yeah, if they
That's
have those like $5,000 condensers and
yeah,
$10,000, then you can
that
just use those.
yeah, that's like omnidirectional.
Yeah,
And it catches everything, bro. It catches everything, all
those
the
studio
highs and
mic,
lows.
the studio mic's always like, it's like, yeah, I'm like, I think I got my nice mic, and then I hear there's like this guy's got like a $10,000 mic, $20,000 mic. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
but
but
that's why it's a studio.
if I got like if I'm like at a stage setup, I like using not Shure's, but it's another company called they got it's a mic called the M1,
Is that like a
Sennheiser,
wireless? Is that a oh,
Sennheiser.
I use those. I've used those before. Are those wireless? Is that your wireless one?
No,
Are you still wired?
for wireless, for I'm still wired with the Sennheiser. It's on like if we do like big band style with all the saxophones lined up, you
Oh,
know.
okay, it's still like wired.
Yeah, so Sennheiser, it's like an M58, I think is what it's M48,
Yeah,
M48.
I used a like a headset from them because I wanted to be able to move around my rig, and then I kept on not being able to get to my mic, and so they made a really good wireless that you could actually capture vocals. So I know who they are. They're pretty good mics.
Yeah,
Um, So yeah, that's interesting. Cause I always like, drummers are always talking about how they mic their kick drums and they have to mic the set a certain way, and it's different producers have different ways of mic and stuff, and you say, okay, you learn from the producer. So did you ever like deal with a producer that kind of taught you like different techniques?
yeah. There was a producer in Japan, the same one. I learned most of my stuff from him. John, that's his first name. And he was from Full Sail.
Oh, nice.
He learned from Full Sail, so he taught me a lot of different miking techniques
hmm
for saxophone. Like there's one way you can do two mics. Like you have one aimed at the bell, and then you have another one aimed at the upper stack where your neck is.
Oh wow,
And
it captures
so
both.
yeah, you get like a stereo recording. And
Does he
it's
multi-track it on separate tracks? Each of those is on a separate track,
yeah, he can do it both ways. Having a left and right, or just have them both
both on the
centered.
same channel. Yeah,
Yeah, or different channels depending on if you want to mix the sounds, because you can mix the two different
yeah,
microphone
yeah.
sounds and create a really good stereo effect if you stack it. You know.
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause if you separate it, like I've gotten into a habit when I first started, I didn't do a lot of separation in my mixes. As I got later, I started like separating all my keyboards, so every one of them is on a different track. So then when I go in, I can like move them around, and some of them are like left and right. And so I got like two channels and like move them around. So I find the more channels you have with like each instrument discreetly on it, then you can do a lot when you start to master and remix and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that gives you more room to play around with, no doubt, for sure, for sure.
Do you like to like overdub like do like overdubbed layered saxophone lines, like you're doubling or tripling or adding different variations, so you sound like you're a choir of saxophones? Do you do that kind of thing?
Oh hell yeah! Oh hell yeah! The Bitcoin Billionaire track, I stacked them. I stacked them saxophones, like cause on that song I'm doing vocals, but you know the primary thing is the vocals. But I did the saxophone and I stacked them bad boys, and it sound good, nice and thick.
Yeah.
Everybody playing the same line, but it's just me
Hmm.
double. You know, I overdub like 4 or 5 times, and it's
Yeah.
just nice fat sound.
That's a classic thing because Stevie Wonder, before the polyphonic synths, he used to take like a Moog where he used to take an ARP 2600 and actually stack the notes into chords separately. Actually, I saw a review of like songs in the key of life. He said, "Well, this thing wasn't polyphonic, so I had to go and overdub the chords one note at a time on separate tracks." And
Wow.
he just had the patience to actually do it. And until we got the Dream Machine, which was polyphonic, and then he was able to do Saturn and stuff on that because he actually could do four, two-handed chords on it. That's why Saturn sounds the way it is, because it's like a polyphonic analog, $300,000 Dream Machine GX1, which it doesn't sound. There's nothing that sounds like that again, because he got Barry Gordy to buy this $300,000 synth for.
Yeah, Stevie Wonder is the man. If he say do it, you just say yes.
And the Gordy was like, "You need that one?" He's like, "Yeah, I need that one. That's the one I need."
Yeah. Like how much you need? Yes.
That's it. There's no
Yes.
question. That's the one you're getting.
How
Well,
many
he
how
was,
many how many sounds? Yes.
that's it. Well, it's a classic. Then there were only 10 of them like built, and like Emerson, Lake and Palmer had one. The guy from Yes had one, and Stevie had one. So it was all the big synth players, the guys in Genesis, all the big synth bands, and Stevie's like, I'm gonna have one too. you
Yeah.
know, and then not just the rockers are gonna have one. I'm gonna have one. He's like, people are like, he's a rocker. Stevie Wonder's albums like progressive rock and funk and soul all at once.
All that, man. Gosh, such a genius. He's such a genius.
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at, if you're learning, I just like I had to look. I don't get anywhere near where he is, but you have to look at it. You have to listen to it if you're going to learn how to play a synth. You got to listen to Stevie because he really shows you how to do it if you listen. But like when you were listening to people coming up, like those records you were listening to, like, can you kind of tell people more about the sound that you were influenced by, and maybe your heroes or people, your reference points?
Say that again.
Like when you're coming up listening and like as an artist, who were the people that you were the most inspired by as a sax player, or who were musicians that do what you do? Like who were your big inspirations? Like what musicians besides Herbie, the people we mentioned?
Michael Brecker, Jay-Z, Pharrell Williams, John Coltrane, Prince, Michael Jackson, Aaliyah,
Hmm.
Janet Jackson, Shaka Khan,
So it's a mix of everything. Yeah.
yeah, Snoop Dogg, U2,
Yeah.
Pantera, Van Halen.
Yeah, you're expansive. That's what like, I'm in. Like I call my sound expansive because like I got punk in my way. I got some Living Color. I got some Clash. I got some like Joy Division, New Order. Because if you're gonna get in the new wave, you're gonna pull in like Joy Division, New Order, Depeche Mode, those kind of Duran Durans. But then you're gonna go back and listen to Funkadelic and Bernie
Oh
Worrell.
yeah,
And Bernie Worrell, he is a genius. Like he took all that funk that those guys were doing, and he actually had the Berkeley degree, and he was actually teaching those guys how to structure. Bootsy was amazing, but he's the one that knew how to do the songwriting. He had actually had the classes. He knew what to do, and so he helped like compose everything. And then he just knew how to play the mini moogs and the Hammond B3s and everything. He could play all that stuff.
yeah. Boosie Collins,
Yeah,
Boosie.
Bootsy on the bass is like he was with James, but then James kicked him out because he said he wasn't disciplined.
Oh, you remember the Brothers Johnson with Quincy Jones? Oh
Yeah.
man, don't like they call him the Hitman. because they used
Yeah.
to be the Motown studio musicians for every track,
Like the
everything.
Funk Brothers, yeah, those guys, like
Yeah,
they laying down everything. Along with
man,
Smokey, Smokey's like writing everything, and then the Funk Brothers like playing everything.
man, the
But
way they did the Jackson 5 track, Displaced Hotel.
oh
Oh
yeah, yeah,
man, we did a live version of that in Japan. That
hmm
song is just magical, bro. That
yeah, all
song
that
just
Motown stuff, and just like listen to the Percy Shuffle. If you listen to just the tambourine, right? They had a guy I was watching a documentary. I forget his name. That his expertise was to add the tambourine on like all the tracks. And he used to have this unique way of playing the tambourine. If you listen to Motown tracks, there's always like a track with the tambourine. They had this guy, a percussionist, that was like amazing. He found all these different ways to actually use the tambourine that I didn't even imagine you could do. And he used to do it. And he would always layer it, like it would be a separate track on almost every Motown song. If you go listen, you can hear it doing that tambourine track, which is really weird, but not weird, but it's just like a secret sauce to their sound. It's like embedded in the Motown sound.
yeah. Every little bit, a little bit go a long way.
Yeah, yeah. You never know. It's like how much like just something like that is like core to people actually picking up on that rhythm, you know, which is like infectious. But so like you have a term here, the shadowy riders army. Will you tell us about that? What's that?
That's my fan club.
That's your
So,
fan club.
you know, yeah, Shadow Riders Army. That's this right here. This logo right here.
Oh,
You
that's
can
what that is.
see, yeah, this is the Shadow Riders. This is the Shadow Riders Army logo right here. So,
That's awesome.
my fans, man, that's a long story. So, Shadow Riders used to be a car club. It started out as a car club in Japan.
Hmm.
So, um, and those guys that was in that car club supported my music.
Wow.
So I used to be like, I still am very much into like JDM car culture. And I used to go and like go to a garage where Japanese guys hung out at and work on my car on the weekends and sometimes in the evening.
Those all Skyline GTRs, or they like
Yes,
yeah,
GTRs, Hondas,
yeah.
uh, Toyotas, different.
Oh, wow. Different the high end ones, the Japanese only models, like the crazy models
Yeah.
that we didn't
Oh,
get.
yeah. Right hand drive the whole nine, man. So we were in Japan and they saw how dedicated I was with working on my car that they adopted me into their crew,
Oh, that's
and we
awesome.
started a car club called Shadow Riders, and then I kept it going, and it eventually turned into my fan club. But I wanted to keep I wanted to keep the car club part as its own,
You don't think, yeah.
own thing. So for the fan club later on, I just added Shadow Riders Army because you
Oh,
got
it's
the
different. Yeah, music and
Beyonce
the car.
Army,
Yeah.
Justin Bieber Army, all
Kiss
these,
Army, Kiss Army.
yeah. So I got Shadow Riders Army. So that's what that
That's
is.
interesting because I actually lived in Japan from 2004 to 2006. I was doing business there, and I lived in Tokyo. I lived in Moto Azabu near Roppongi.
Yeah,
That's
we
where I
used to go
actually
down
lived.
there to hang out, bro. Right around
Yeah,
that time.
I had a little condo in the middle of well, I was in Moto Azabu, right in the middle of Roppongi, but near Shobusho, like a fire station. But yeah, I love the Japanese people. What I loved in Japan, I remember is going to like Roppongi and just seeing like nightclubs, and there were guys in there channeling Coltrane, and there were guys in there doing Motown. There were guys
Yeah,
doing like punk rock, like the Japanese, and they would do it in their own way, right? So they weren't biting off. They kind of reinterpret it and get their own flavor on it. And I was just amazed about how it was really dynamic. I was go to clubs and just watch what they were doing because I was just really interested.
yeah. They're so dynamic and so creative. It's like that whole country is like a bed for
Art,
creativity and
art,
inspiration and art. Like everything is artistic, and they like how they look at music and the arts is totally different. They look at you as like a Buddhist monk or something because you
yeah.
study the arts.
Yeah, you get about more respect for I found because my daughter went to a Japanese preschool and kindergarten, and she to this day uses Shinto culture to inspire her art. She's actually a graphic artist, and she because we lived in Japan, her whole she's an African American artist that has like a Shinto Japanese motif, and people see her art and they think she's like a Japanese artist because she was influenced by it, and it's still like a hardcore part of her work, which is really cool. It's a kind of interesting dynamic, and I thought it's cool that I was able to give her that. But yeah, it's like it's cool to see that she picked up on it.
Yeah, it does really grow on you, bro. I want to go back. I
Oh,
like,
I've been wanting to go back for years.
yeah,
Ever since 2006, it's like I hated to leave. I wanted to stay. My company said, "Oh, you got to go," and I'm like, "You're done." I was like, "I don't want to be done."
yeah. I want to stay. Let me stay.
It
I'm
was
gonna
just
go back, bro.
I will go back because I'm actually working with a Japanese producer, so I'm hoping I get to go to Shinjuku because that's where her studio is, and actually you do something with her. But yeah, this I just find the artists there are just fantastic from the musicians to the painters to the the videographers and producers and anime and manga and all that stuff. I'm just totally enveloped in it. But the other thing's kind of cool that you're into is NFTs. Can you tell us about how you got into that?
Oh yeah. So I really got into it last year, like 2001, like around this time, about October. I started seeing all the headlines on it.
Hmm.
Um, the artist that had a real big impression on me was Tory Lanez, because Tory Lanez got on there on Instagram and made
Hmm.
this big announcement that he sold 1 million NFTs to 1 million fans for $1 each, and then those fans turned
It's so
around and sold those individual NFTs for like $5,000 each. Some of them sold them for $50,000, $60,000 each. And this is
mhm.
for like, so each one of the NFTs was an EP, was like a album with a couple of songs on it.
Oh wow.
And so they flipping them for 50,000, 60,000. And I saw that, I was like, oh, I got to
That's a
get on
new
this.
yeah, because that's better than getting paid on Spotify.
Oh hell yeah, bro! Getting paid a fraction of a penny for a stream.
Yeah, 0.06 of a penny versus like NFT. I think I'm gonna
Yeah,
go NFT.
hell yeah. And so to this day, like the most I made 400 Tezos on one NFT with a collaboration with two other artists.
Hmm.
So 400 Tezos is equivalent of about $630
Hmm.
off of
It's
one song.
that's more than Spotify.
Yeah, for one song.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it was just
that's the
one
new world.
copy.
Well, that's the new world because like people got like the thing about music. I always ask people is like you got to get into sync licensing, you got to get into crypto, you got to get into NFT, you got to find a way to get on TikTok to get the kids to into you. Which that's a whole different thing because you have to learn how to get them to to make yourself work there. It's like you can't just go and present yourself like you do on a music video. You got to like change your image to get on there. But yeah, you just gotta, that's how I started getting into video games and trying to do advertising and trying to do like TV and film scoring because that's the only way you're gonna really get anything because other than playing live, because they don't really pay for our music. It was kind
Yeah.
of devalued ever since Napster and iTunes and everybody started going streaming. Then boom, like we lost like from 99 cents for a song to 0.006 of a penny for one song.
Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy.
Immediate devaluation of music.
They killed it.
No. Yeah, I mean, it's really cool that people in Japan and people in Australia can hear you, but then they can't. You don't get paid that much for it.
Yeah, you still gonna starve if you just depend on that one stream of income.
You got to
Yeah,
try to see, well, how can I get a booking agent to get me to my fans in Australia and actually play a show? You know, how can I get to Iceland and Netherlands to actually play a show? Because then that's where I'll make the money. You know,
right. And your numbers got to be good enough for them to even pay attention to you. You got to
yeah,
get
yeah,
high
the
enough
booking.
numbers.
Yeah, you gotta get a high enough number, you gotta get some kind of buzz, on
Yeah,
SoundCloud or someplace so you can get a booker they at least can put you on a collective, can put you into a collective type of festival type of situation. So you at least can be on stage with a bunch of people and kind of start rolling that way.
Yeah. And then
Have you
also
done
your
like the
merch.
festival? Yeah, merch. Well, merch is the other leg. That's like you see me, right? Well, I'm like, what's this?
Yep. Same here. Merch, baby.
Yeah, well, I make more money on this than any of my songs.
Ain't that something? It's crazy, right?
It's crazy when you're a musician that my hoodie sells more than my music, but that's the world we live in.
Yep.
So that's what you got to do. Like you do what you do, then they can lets me do the music. So like, yeah, I'm gonna do the music anyway, so I might as well try to make something. Um, but yeah, so like, have you been on the festival circuit lately? Because of COVID, I know everybody's been kind of not been able to do it, but have you been able to
Yeah.
do it?
Nah, it's been a minute since I've been on any type of festivals. I would love to. So anybody, any festivals that's watching this podcast, man, if y'all want to holler at your man Shaddow, hit me up. Holler at my
Yeah,
booking agent. Let's get it popping.
yeah.
I do have I'm in dialogue talking about an event in Houston that's gonna go down in December. And
Ooh,
that's gonna
cool.
be like a big it's gonna be like an NFT and art and music
Art
festival.
festival. So you're gonna get
So
to play too? You're gonna be able to play there?
yeah, that's the
Awesome.
that's what we're working on. We're talking about it right now, like what I want. So uh to be continued.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I used to play in 2017, 2016. I would go to New York and Boston, and
Hmm.
I was able to get where I could. So I got on a hip hop tour, and I'm not really hip hop, but I was able to kind of finagle my way onto it. And and sometimes you gotta like see it, like if you can stretch it to get in. He's like,
Yeah,
I was like, well, I don't know if they're gonna really dig me because I'm not really hip hop. I'm like progressive rock and and kind of funk. But the kids got once I played live, they were into it. So you just gotta like just know you're gonna kick ass and just go on stage, do what you do, and they feel, oh wow, he's actually playing. Because
yeah,
kids don't see that. So when they see somebody actually coming to play, you can kind of show them something.
yeah. What I want to do is I want to put together a good solid, like a full band, man, like how Trombone Shorty got his band set up,
Oh yeah.
or how Kamasi Washington and Thundercat got their band set
Oh
up. Like,
yeah, Thundercat, like that's fantastic. Well, he was able
yeah,
to link up with like Kendrick Lamar and what's cool now is the rappers are actually looking for real people,
real
real musicians.
bands.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
looking for real bands to back them up. So
yeah,
like you get the guys like Kendrick Lamar and even Kanye West is that they want to actually do a performance with a real band behind them. You
yeah,
know, and
yeah,
that's I think really cool for the future of music because they like a lot when they were just doing with the CDJs and the DJs, they said, well, where are the bands? But now they realizing that they want to mix it, so it's a
yeah,
cross, which is cool
yeah,
because all the funk guys and all the jazz guys can get back into it.
yeah. So I'll put that out there. Like, yeah, if you watching this podcast right now, man, I want to put together the Shadow Riders band. So if you play like bass, keys, guitar, drums, horn section, trumpet, uh, trombone,
Hmm.
alto,
That's
auxiliary
awesome.
percussion, DJ, get at me. If you watching this now, if you listen to this now, get at me. If you want to play, get
Wow.
at me.
I want to do it, but I'm booked out for stuff. But yeah, one day maybe we do something. But yeah,
Yeah, man. Let's do a record together.
yeah. Well, I love, I love, I mean, I don't know you listen to, I do a lot of weird experimental kind of funkadelic type stuff and then really kind of out there. But if
Me
you're,
too.
yeah, if you're into that, so yeah, I'm sure that we could vibe on something because I'm kind of like the guy, let's just vibe on it, see what happens. But yeah, I think that's really cool. So when you go to write with other people, are you like primarily in your DAW, do you actually go and like link up with like the what you just described, getting a full band? And when you go to record, do you do the full band kind of recording, or do you come in there with like the Ableton and Pro Tools type of thing, kind of just structure that yourself?
I've went both ways. I've done it both ways. I've went in like the first. my first ever recorded single, it was with a band. Like I was in Korea with a Korean funk band, Windy City, and
Hmm.
that whole thing was all live instruments. And I
Oh, that's
came in there
awesome.
with an idea on a voice recorder. And we listened to it, and then we just tracked it out, instrument by instrument. And
That's the way to do it. I mean, I used to do stuff on little Fostex and Tascams and real, I mean, even with a Casio into a Tascam, like rough
yeah,
do it with like a really cheesy drum off like a Boss drum machine, like a drum pedal, like a little pedal type of thing was like really fundamental. It wasn't an 808, but it would give you like a click track, give you something, and then
yeah,
you just having a basic demo. Sometimes those can be really good though. You can have something that's super lo-fi, but it kind of tells you where you need to go, right?
yeah. It's just a starting point. It's all it is,
Yeah, yeah.
and you
Yeah,
build on top of it. And
yeah, you
then
gotta
like
have something. You gotta
yeah,
start some.
then other times, I come in with a Pro Tools session, and we just start with that, and it's got the beats and different things like that already kind of mapped
You
out.
kind of like imagined all the parts, and then people. Are
Yeah,
you like? Do you like? What I always do, like when I do that, when I've been with bands, is like I'll do the bass, but I'm not the best. Maybe I'm pretty good at my mode. But if somebody comes in there and they can really kick ass on the bass, I was like, okay, you reinterpret my bass line. Yeah, you can change it because like you did a better job than I did. Is that how it
yeah,
kind of goes? Like somebody reinterprets your line and shows you something, you're like, yeah, that sounds cool.
yeah. I'll take the bass. Like if it sounds better than what I did, hell
Yeah,
yeah,
and
because
that's
we
kind of
got to
what
get
it
the
is.
song good. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, you let the I always let the person like if I did something on an 808 and then a real drummer comes in and then what they do is this really kicking. But then sometimes it's like if it was if it was a new wave song, it actually needed that 808 to kind of stay. And so it's like, yeah, maybe you can do something on top of it, but we got to keep that because that's the kind of vibe of the song. So he's kind of making choices like, do you really use the drum machine because you're trying to do something like that, or do you want to totally change it?
yeah, and stuff like that. It's sometimes it's good to have a different set of ears, like a different producer. Because if you writing it, if you composing it and arranging it, sometimes having another producer there to kind of like give you a like a accountability check on like, does this really
Yeah,
sound dope? It's good.
yeah, because they
That's
could come in and like record your thing. Like if you came in and your chords weren't that interesting, they come and kind of Beatle chord it. They kind of use Beatle chords, and then it means they just bring a different flavor to it that maybe you didn't imagine, or they shift it to a different key and say, if you did this, and then so they take what you do, and I always like producers that take your demo and make it sound better, but don't
yeah,
radically change it, but actually make it the best you possible, right? And it still keeps like your integrity and your individualism, and don't trying to turn it into somebody else's track just because that's what's hidden. But they actually take it and enhance it and make it better. What do you feel about that?
that's why I like the Neptunes and Pharrell so much because they were masters of doing that. They had so many versatile sounds. They had so many versatile tracks that they did with so many artists, and I look up to Pharrell so much because he does exactly that. He don't work with hip hop artists,
Yeah,
bands. Uh, he's worked with No Doubt. He's worked with
Tyler
Chester
Creator.
Fresh,
Yeah,
Tyler
Tyler.
Creator,
Yeah,
Snoop Dogg, Kylie Minogue, just countless.
yeah, and
Britney
they
Spears.
still sound like them. He doesn't turn them into the
Yeah,
Neptune. He actually just enhances their sound and brings he brings what he did with the Neptunes, but he doesn't overpower it and make it totally a Neptune's track, which is, that I think that's a cool way of doing it.
yeah. So totally, man. Like I think producers who can do that, who got that skill to keep you like genuine and make you sound like you and keep you sounding like you, they're like a godsend, man. They're like golden. You're going to keep them producers around you because they're gonna
Yeah,
make you better.
yeah, because you got so many people that like to just clone like whatever's kicking in the top 20. Um, and yeah, I understand it, and I understand why they do it, but it's like if you want to create music that's actually going to be long lasting, to me, like I'm a big fan of my childhood in the 70s, right? And just listen to the diversity of the music in the 70s. And then
Yeah.
we listen, like, it maybe there's diversity here if you listen to hip hop, and yeah, there's certain things happening underground. That's why in this show I talked emerging and independent artists, because I like to show people that there's stuff going on in top 20, top 100, but where all the underground and indie emerging artists, there's really vital stuff going on. You just ain't paying attention. So that's why I do this show, is to bring artists like yourself out there so people can find you. People can actually hear something and maybe they weren't thinking about.
Oh yeah, I appreciate you, bro, because it's a grind out here. It's hard to like get people's attention away from the top 20, top 40, top 100, because that's what they like. The media, mainstream media, is like totally just banging people's head with only that, and it's hard to cut
Yeah.
through the noise. It's
Yeah.
hard to cut through.
You get things like, SoundCloud, you get the YouTubes, you get the TikToks where you can get some unknown artist. But, the problem with the TikTok, it's really kind of flash in the can, and it's a lot of comedy, and it's a lot of, that's fine. But if that's not your vibe, it's like, if you're not a comedian, then it's like, how are you going to really kick on that platform? It's like, I don't know if every artist that's out here can do a TikTok, because like,
Yeah,
and then if you do that, are you going to get stuck thinking everybody thinks you're Dave Chappelle? you
yeah.
know,
You don't want to
maybe that's how
compromise your brand.
yeah, you're like, yeah, to get a million views, if I go and do like a Saturday Night Live type of sketch, am I going to be stuck doing that? Because
Yeah,
that's
I
what
don't want
people,
to. Yeah, I don't want to compromise who I really am to fit in with what the
what
mainstream
the
is
trend,
doing.
what the
Yeah,
trends do. Yeah,
I want to keep
that's
being me.
well, that's why I started podcasting. I said, well, how can I still be Goat the Phantom? I can be Peg, right? Phantom like the Ghost. How can I do that and still exist? And then I found this niche of like, I love music. I'm a producer. I'm a musician. What if I go and just show the love by talking to musicians as a musician, and see if I can spread the wealth, right? Because
Yeah,
if I can create a collective, like I started doing the Bedroom Festival online, because then I can take people that I've talked to and give them a platform so they can play, so other people around the world. So if I get a band that's got 300,000 fans, and then they're on my festival, then all the other bands that are there, whether they got 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, those other fans will watch because they say, hey, this is interesting. So you just try to build like a communal type of system where people will stay, because they go, oh wow, he talks to all these bands. Maybe I should sit there and watch that.
yeah. It's like a metaverse festival. It's like you get the Woodstock experience without being there. You get to like
Yeah,
just
you
watch it
don't get
online.
muddy. You don't get muddy. You don't get hit with a rock.
Stuck in the
I
mosh
actually
pit.
I was actually there at the Green Day one where they had the Mud Fest
Yeah,
and they were throwing mud at the band. I was actually in the crowd there. I saw them throwing the mud, and like one kid threw it, and then like 10,000 kids start throwing it. So you got to be careful. Like one kid does it, then 10,000 kids start doing it all at once. It's like, maybe you don't want that. But
man.
yeah, that was fantastic. But that was like, I was young. I went to that thing, and I'm like, I saw like, Joe Cocker. I saw Nine Inch Nails. It's like Green Day. So all these bands for 3 days. And I was like, I've been a fan. And I'm like, yeah, that's what music is about. Is like actually not just being in one lane. I like being able to, like BBC, you listen to everything, and
Yeah,
I would say sometimes American radio has not been the best for artists to kind of cut through, because they keep on playing the same stuff. Like we need to be more open, so we can have jazz, we can have funk, we can have rock, we have punk, we have everything. Why not?
yeah,
Because like people listen to not just one thing. So we need to be able to that's what I try to do with this program, is like I try, bring jazz artists like yourself. And I think it's important to show the diversity, because when you write, you described like the artists that you're influenced by, and they were all over the map.
yeah. I mean, people's like perception is easily controlled by the media, and they get just programmed to only like a few different genres. But if mainstream media did like what you said and spread it across the board and had like different genres all the time, then society as a whole would like different genres at the time. But they control it so much to where you can't see all the different genres. So yeah, we have to be that force to fight it, man, and like put more styles of music out there so everybody can hear this. You know what I'm saying? Put in a platform, like a festival platform where you can hear all these different styles of music and you're there because your favorite band is there, but you also get to hear all these other really awesome bands and music
Yeah.
artists too.
Yeah, like what Tyler started doing with the Camp Flogna, it wasn't just our future. He went and brought multiple bands. Some were punk, some were new wave, some were synth wave. He wasn't just doing hip hop. He opened it up. They like this hip hop festival, but it's not just a hip hop. He didn't even call it that because he started bringing like other bands in that had nothing to do with hip hop. And so I think that was my idea when I did my festival. Is like if I interviewed a classical musician and a jazz musician and a guy from Nashville and a band from Germany or Australia, they're all there and they're all doing multiple things. And it's like, and then people actually would stay because it's like, wow, I don't get to see this. Like, well, MTV used to do that. They
Yeah.
don't do it, they don't do it anymore.
No, they played out.
They played it out. They just do the real life, real world, or maybe the unreal life. But so what's your plan besides the NFTs? Are you working on a new album?
Yeah, so there's an album that I've been working on for years called The Nightfall Suites. I'm still working on that bad boy.
Oh wow.
So fans be patient. I'm still working on the Nightfall Suites album. Uh, I want to get some more traction on a couple of singles first, and I'm continuing to work on it. And what I might do is start dropping a song a month or a song a week
Yeah,
off Nightfall
that's
Suites
good.
and just build up to it, and then like once I get enough buzz, hit the road and do shows like the one in December, hit up some festivals, build up some numbers, and with more fans to buy more merch and buy more NFTs, I can afford more recording budget to continue the album and finish it. So
Yeah,
it's
that's a good
all
strategy. That's a good
yeah,
strategy. Because I think what was interesting, Hendrix actually had to go on the road to like finish. Well, he was doing Electric Lady, but he was like doing a lot of work to try to finish like First Rays and New Rising Sun, which was his unfinished fourth album. He was like touring real heavy to actually get it done. He actually built Electric Lady touring for it. That's how he
yeah,
actually built it. Is he was actually touring real heavy in Europe to actually fund the building of Electric Lady. So that I mean, artists have done that all the time, even big guys like that. You have to kind of, you know, go and do the work to get where you want to go. And he wanted to build like the best studio at the time, and he just toured crazy to do it. We have the legacy of that studio, but we don't have him. But yeah, people, you gotta push, where you can.
yeah. So that's the strategy, man. So I want to do a lot of like custom experiences for my fan club in different parts of the world. So I got lots of plans. Like we want to do like pop up shows in places like India
Oh,
and
that'd be awesome.
Africa, and go back to Japan and do a show. Go back to Korea and do a show. I mean, the
That's a
fans are
cool
there.
thing. Well,
Yeah,
that's an awesome thing because one of the things I wanted to do with my show is eventually take it on the road. So, like, when I do a podcast, I actually go to the country where the band is, right? And the idea is I'm floating to sponsors is I take a podcast, video podcast, I go on the road. I follow an artist when they're getting ready to do their show, or I follow an artist when they're recording, right? And actually do the interview while watching them either going through recording an album or going through getting ready to do a show and actually, do the podcast in that kind of frame.
yo,
And
that
then
would be dope.
try to get like corporate sponsors to say, hey, that's the kind of thing you should be on MTV.
Yeah, not what
Or
y'all playing
VH1.
now.
Not what you're doing now, but what I'm saying, if you guys are listening, I go and do something. I follow Shaddow to where he goes. He goes to India, he goes to Japan. I go do the show live where he is, and I could do multiple nights if there's different things going on. right? And so every artist we deal with, we do that. I think that is more entertaining, and actually, like as a musician and a producer, I think that I think fans will find that interesting because they
Yeah.
get to see a band or an artist in their zone, in their creative zone, if you're willing to show it. Some artists might not want to be with, like, I don't want to show my secret sauce. But some artists might, I think that a lot of artists would be willing to do it, but we'll see.
Yeah. So any companies, big companies that's listening to this podcast, if you cater to digital nomads and people that travel for business, we are people that travel for business. So you should sponsor us. So companies like, I don't know, travel companies like Expedia. If
Yeah, yeah,
you listening to this, holler at us. We got my man, myself. We could do this thing right. So y'all hit
yeah,
us up.
yeah.
Hotels,
Yeah, we could be the
airlines.
videography. We could do your day in the life of Shadow music. We could follow you, do a whole thing, even get a filmmaker to actually turn it into a film. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do. If you can get people to have the imagination to say, "Oh, oh, that's not a clone of something going on." No, that we want to do something because we think that's cool. It's like maybe you don't have an example of it,
Uh-huh.
and maybe you don't want to fund it because where's the example? the, the example is that kicks ass and you should do it.
Yeah. A ghost in the shadow.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good idea.
Hey,
But
hey, hey.
yeah, I've been pushing this around. I'm trying to get people to into it. I was trying to go after like the alcohol companies, like the Seagrams and all those. 'Cause I think they're into that kind of stuff, but we'll see. But yeah. So yeah. So beyond that, what do you think like 2023 is going to be like? Do you feel like you'll have more opportunities? Like it seems like this year in December, cutting into the end of this year, are you feeling confident in 2023 you'll be able to like really be out there more like before the pandemic?
Oh hell yeah! I got major plans, major plans. So I'm planning to sell out all my NFT projects. So that's gonna boost. That's gonna give me a lot of
Result.
income
Yeah.
to resources to finish that album we was talking about. And if I got to put together my own show, I'll do a big event somewhere in the city. I'll put it on. I'll pay the bill. I get with some corporate sponsors. We do a big show. Uh, Spend all the money on getting people to record it, like you said. Take good video, good photo, good
Mhm.
promo. Market the hell out that motherfucker. Excuse my language.
Yeah, that's fine.
Put
We're
push that
fine.
out there. Push that out there hard, and that's just gonna like catapult everything. So that's the plan. And then once we put that show out, people are gonna get a piece of that. They're gonna want some more, and we're gonna start hitting the road off the strip of that, and have a good dope videographer with me on every trip, everything. And we just gonna have a strong social media marketing team put together and take over the internet, man. Like Andrew Tate did. Andrew
Yeah.
Tate, the guy that's like the masculine guy. Like
Hmm.
he totally took over. His fan base just took over TikTok because they were like reposting his videos. We're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna take over social media,
Yeah.
and
Well,
everybody.
if you need us to do live podcast when you're doing that, if we don't get our other idea, we will more than willing to do live podcast with you when you need to. Like if you want to push something out, this platform, you can come to me directly and we can work that out.
Maybe I can talk to the guys that's going to do the show in Houston. I don't know where you're at, but Houston, that's it's open because they're taking on stuff like that. So, and then like uh, the stuff in 2023, most definitely, bro. I hit you up and we could just collab.
Yeah, because even if we can't do it physically there, we could still do the virtual one if as long as you get a connection.
Yep.
We could do it from the venue. So if you want to be able to podcast to like Facebook and Twitch and Twitter live from wherever you are, I could do it on our platforms and push it up on the Spotify and iTunes and all that. But like, yeah, I think what you're doing is really cool, and I love being part of like people who are moving and trying to get something done. So yeah, I think that's where live music and musicians playing music. Like Prince used to say, live music, real music by real musicians. uh, that's kind of where my head's at. But and I do appreciate that you're out there still doing it. And in a world where the kids, are in the box, it's cool to see people actually, playing an instrument.
Yeah, we got to keep doing it, bro. Because if we do it and we're role models that stand up and do it, there's going to be some kids that see us and look up to us and be like, that's cool. I want to do that. Just like when we were kids.
Yeah, yeah.
So we got the
Yeah, get
torch now, bro.
yeah, get kids on the baritone and sax, and you get the kids on the moog, you get them playing like because like we got to have more funk. You can't just have funk if it's in the box. You got to
Yeah.
actually play it.
I already got a few kids that look up to me like that.
That's awesome. Well, yeah. Anytime I try to teach kids when I produce, like to not be scared to touch the moog. Don't be scared.
Yeah.
Don't be scared.
Experiment.
Don't be scared of all the wires. Don't be scared of the dials. Like I can't touch that. No, that's how you learn. Like how you learn is you actually pick it up and you say, well, I don't know. Like how does a guitar player learn? They pick that thing up and they actually start getting blisters and they say, hey, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to go play basketball or baseball or whatever. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to learn that instrument. And
Yeah.
it's a discipline. It's like sports. You get muscle memory. You get the experience, a team sport. To me, music is like a team building thing. You have to work with a team, and you have to have communication. If you're in a band and you're with that bass player and you're with that drummer, you're communicating. It's a team effort, and so people need to understand it's vital. And I hate it when people get rid of music programs and they think it's like they can drop it. Because kids really need to have other outlets besides sports. I mean, sports is great, but as a musician, we really got to push for kids to be able to learn sax, learn piano, learn guitar, learn violin. Because how are you going to create new music if you don't learn it?
Right. Yeah. You got to pass the torch on. You can't
So,
hog that motherfucker. You got to pass the torch, man.
yeah, definitely. So everybody can go to your website that's here, and they can see all things Shaddowmusic, right?
That's correct. This is the next big thing. So DAO is a platform where fans not only can listen to stuff on that link right there, but they can invest in our upcoming shows, technologies, NFTs, and actually own a piece of Shadow Riders Army through the
That's awesome.
power of cryptocurrency and blockchain technology.
Well, I think that'll get the kids who are into that. Then a lot of people are into that today. So I think that's another angle that, I got to look into myself. So thank you very much for being on the program. We're at like the hour mark. And we're very happy that you came here. And we think we'll be able to actually talk to you in the future a lot more than we're even doing tonight. And yeah, have a good, safe night. And I wish you the most success you could have. And I hope I can help do something with you in the future to help you push that.
Hey, I thank you very much, my brother. Thank you for having me on the show. And thank you, audience, for having us and all the Shadow Riders Army members worldwide, man. You know what it is. This is Shadow, leader of the Shadow Riders Army, signing off.